So how do you stand out, get noticed, get the appointment, or even get the job interview? How do you get noticed when you walked in the room? You got the riz, that charisma? These are things you need to know to break out, stand out, get out, because if they don't remember you, don't call you back, you don't get the appointment, you don't get the job interview, then you can't persuade them and show them your stuff. Let's get into it.
Maximize your influence. Kurt Mortensen is the author of Persuasion IQ, Laws of Charisma, and the best-selling book, Maximum Influence.
Thanks for being here. Tell your family, friends, and enemies about the podcast. We're on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Give us a like. Give us some feedback. Shout out to me at Kurt@MaximizeYourInfluence.com. Everything you need's on that website, from your free Persuasion IQ to the advanced training programs. Housekeeping out of the way. So glad to have you here. Hope you're having an incredible week. Things are happening. You're becoming more persuasive, more influential, better negotiator. Today, get yourself to stand out a little bit, more memorable, more noticeable, because that's the key, that engagement, that involvement. I mean, if they're not listening, if you're not in front of them, if they're sleeping, they're very difficult to persuade. Let's keep it on track and go off with our persuasion blinja, we'll call it. This is a combination blunder ninja. You decide, a little bit of each on this one. Don't. Of course, my air conditioning went out this week, in a very hot week. And we were proactive probably about a month or so ago to have the tune-up, to have everything done. Fast forward a month, switch on the AC, and it doesn't work. So we call up like, oh, well, it's going to be a while. We're really busy. We're like, no, you need to get out here. And first of all, the ninja is they had great radio marketing, great ad. It was like $59 to come out and do it. So the ninja part there. And this is not a company we always use. And they came out and they were very proactive, got everything checked. They got their foot in the door, right? They lose money on that first visit. They built some trust. That's the ninja. And it was cheap. All right. So now they want to charge that fee again to come out. We're like, no. We've already paid it. You gave us a clean bill of health on our air conditioner. And we went back and forth, had to talk to supervisor, like, oh yeah, we should probably waive that. All right, there's your blunder, having to fight over the initial fee. So again, fast forward a month, it didn't work. That's the blunder, getting upset. Who do you blame? Who do you point fingers at? My upstairs, it hit 90 degrees. And that's where I do record these podcasts. And again, the blunder is they wanted 5 days. So 5 days of heat. We got to go through this. And during that 5 days, getting hot and getting upset, I asked my neighbor, who do you use for your air conditioning or HVAC? And he told me, and he says, who do you use? Well, I'm trying these guys out. Oh, they're the most expensive. They do this. And so they planted that seed of doubt. They show up and there is no refrigerant at all. In 30 days, it went from being okay to nothing. Red flag. You hear stories of people making little cuts, so the refrigerant leaks out. I don't know if that happened. Now, the ninja part 2, they had great equipment. They showed me all the numbers. They had all the proof. So it was out. How it happened, we don't know. And gave me a great range of options from $1,500 just to put in refrigerant. But if it leaked out, I was out $1,500 to $4,000 to replace the coil to replacing it for $20,000. So then it just sat there. I'm like, okay, email your options. And the blunder part, the big blunder part for them, is there was no call to action, no, hey, what do you want to do? They just, we're going to email your options. No follow-up, no phone call. Still haven't fixed the thing. Still looking around. But there were some good things there as far as the radio ad, the foot in the door, the great equipment. They were great listeners. But ultimately, I probably should have gone with them, but there was no call to action. I had that doubt in my mind, are they really the most expensive? If I wanted to shop around, they should have planted some seeds saying, well, great, we'll beat the offer, we'll meet the offer, or I'll walk you through the offer because the offers are very different. None of that. That was the biggest blunder. Little blinja there of the day. So here is listener email.
Oh, boy!
Good afternoon, Kurt. I hope you're doing well. I enjoy the podcast immensely and was wondering how persuasion can influence job hunting. My wife is currently looking for a job and she's been either ignored, no return phone calls, or been overlooked by other hires. What are the ways the laws of persuasion can help her in her resume? talking on the phone or follow-ups, etc. I appreciate all you do. Respectfully, Griffin Lilly Jr. So Griffin, you get the gold version Influence University. We'll send that out to you for anything we use on the show, from humor to recommendations to geeky articles to email. Let's answer, how do you stand out? Now, this could be for a job interview. This can be getting an appointment, anything, standing out, getting the riz. Even from your resume, what can we do here? Let's talk about this job interview thing, because you can use these for anything to stand out, to get the business, to get the appointment. Now, you talk to anybody in government, and it's the best unemployment data ever. You ask anybody looking for a job, it's like the worst time ever. You're like, what's the discrepancy here? Well, it's no secret that all governments cook the books. They want to make themselves look as good as possible, especially in an election year. But on one hand, it sounds like the easiest time ever, but when you talk to anybody looking for a job right now, it's one of the hardest times ever. It's very competitive. Many people are overqualified. A lot of different statistics out there. Now, here's what's interesting. A survey conducted by Intelligent.com found that 38% of employers avoid hiring recent college graduates. Now, I teach at a college level. I work with the college students in public speaking. One of the modules is job interview, because that's public speaking, and that's something they need. 58% of these people felt they were unprepared to work. So they started hiring older people, which might be good news for you, bad news for some of you. So nearly 4 in 10 employers avoid hiring recent college grads in favor of older workers. And I'll put this link at maximizeyourinfluence.com. It'll be under podcast 517 or in your email, depending on how you're listening to the podcast. And here's just the big synopsis of this article. So again, 38% of employers avoid hiring recent college graduates in favor of older employees. 20%, get this, hard to believe, had a recent college graduate bring a parent to a job interview. Hello. 58% say recent college graduates are unprepared for the workforce. Almost 50% of these employers had to fire a recent college graduate. So there's issues, there's things happening out there. What can we do? How do you stand out? How do you get the riz? How do you make your mark? How do you get that call back? Let's talk about this. So this works for anything from getting the job interview, from standing out, to getting the appointment to sell them. So the first one is, and you know I'm a big believer of this, mindset, self-persuasion. More important than anything, if you don't have the right mindset to persuade, influence, it just doesn't happen. And it's true for the job interview. It's true for this game. You have to treat it like a game. Think about this. When you feel influential, you are more influential. So you have to be in the right state, be in the right game. And this game of job hunting, it could take some time. So you've got to be persistent. You've got to get ready every morning to play the game. It's a numbers game. You just keep pumping. Remember that story? Boyfriend, girlfriend, falling in love, decided to go from the city to the country to have a picnic. So this young man was pretty brave and borrowed his girlfriend's father's nice car. And, they packed it up. He treated it nice. They drove an hour to the countryside, had a great time under a tree, stream, falling in love, sparks are flying. But this young lady, her allergies started to bother her. She started to sneeze, and she had medication, didn't want to take it, made her all groggy. She says, hey, let's just drive back into town. We've had a great time. So this young man packed everything up, dumped out the water, shut the trunk, started driving to town. And within minutes, this young lady's like, no, I need to take this medication. It's getting bad. I just need to take it with a lot of liquid. Of course, this young man, his heart sank as he realized he had dumped out all the liquid. We're in the middle of nowhere. Really can't drink out of a stream anymore. So he noticed an old abandoned farm off to the left. So they pulled over, and out in front of the barn was this old-fashioned pump. So ones you pump up and down. So he got some containers out, started pumping. 5 minutes had passed, and he's getting tired. And 10 minutes had passed, and beads of perspiration were forming on his forehead, and he was just about to give up. And his girlfriend saw it. She says, no, keep pumping. The water can be right there. You just can't see how close it is. Well, I don't know if you remember being in love like that, but that's all it took. He kept pumping another 5 minutes without alarm, without fanfare. Cold, refreshing water came gushing out, and he had saved the day. And that's true with any aspect of life. Success, your goals, job interviews, you just keep pumping. And the waters of financial success will come gushing out. Success will come gushing out. Sometimes it gets frustrating because you can't see how close it is. So that's the big one, is mindset. And then you have to think about networking. Now, we all know this is the easiest, bestest way. So this is where we need to focus. 85% of jobs are filled via networking. You know somebody. So utilize professional networking platforms like LinkedIn. Talk to your family and friends and make it simple. Even older friends. Hey, do you like your company? How's the industry you're working in? Is it growing? Do you love what you do? Hey, are there any openings? I'm looking for this. What do you know? Who do you know? Who can you recommend? Hello, people. Expand your network. When you're filling out a resume, go to LinkedIn. Find out who's there. Get the inside scoop. That's all part of it. Leverage friends. Leverage LinkedIn. That's the easiest, quickest, fastest way. Especially if you have target companies that you want to work for, you go to LinkedIn. Even if they're the second level, third level, you could reach out and say, hey, I found you on LinkedIn. This is what's going on. This is what's doing. What do you recommend? What are you doing? You'd be surprised. People are very willing to help. So any type of employee referral can significantly increase your chance of getting noticed and securing an interview. Even if you're just trying to persuade someone within that company, use networking, use LinkedIn, find out people that know there. LinkedIn is a great resource. And of course, the next one is customize your resume, customize your cover letter. I know sometimes it's just point click, I've already done it. You need to highlight what they're looking for with your achievements, your skills, your experiences. If it's a job you really want, have somebody on Fiverr. They can do it for $5. Customize your resume to what they're looking for. The bullets they're looking for should be some of the bullets in your resume. See, a lot of companies, they don't admit to this, but they have bots that go through your resumes before they even talk to you to see if you're qualified, to see if you have the things that they're looking for. So you need to make sure their buzzwords are somehow in your resume, your buzzwords. And of course, do your research on the company. Why? At that job interview, you've got to come out what's in it for them, how you're going to benefit them, that you're a good fit, that you're a good return on investment. They want to invest in you, but they want to make sure that you're going to give them more than they're paying you. That's just how they look at it. Have questions ready for them if you get a call out of the blue or you do have the job interview. And borrow credibility. Name drop. Don't just talk to that person or email that person or text that person. Name drop. Get permission to do it. Or even have them send an email. Hey, I know a great person for this position. Hey, I see you're interviewing so-and-so. They're awesome. I'll vouch for them. I've worked with them. I've known them for X amount of years. Is always going to go a long way. And another key thing is follow-up. If you really want that job, after submitting your application, follow up with a personalized email. Hit them on LinkedIn. Leave a voicemail after hours that you're interested, you're excited, you want to talk. Reiterate your qualifications, that you're a good fit. This shows that you're enthusiastic, you're persistent, and that could be the thing to prompt them to remember your name, to get you to the interview, to review your job application. I remember I was getting hired for a trainer position at a tech company, and I did a recorded resume, something a little bit different to stand out. I remember my wife right out of college, she was in advertising. She wanted to work for this advertising agency. Now, I don't know if this would work for everybody, but this is how the advertising agency world thinks. She had the interview, and the next day she dropped off muffins, with a sign that said, there's muffin I'd rather do than work for you. I know, it's corny, cheesy, but that was the thing. That was the difference. Hey, and free muffins, creative, what you need in advertising. Again, I don't know if that'll work for everywhere, but find something industry, stand out, step up, follow up. It's critical. But one thing that's really important that I want to share, and I've been training my college students on this because they're deep in this job interview world, is beware and prepare for the strange things. So think about it. If you're in HR and you have 100 qualified candidates for a job, now that's not fair, but you've got to quickly disqualify people as fast as possible. And it can be the silliest things, but people do it based on handshake, based on were you on time. Everyone has their thing. For a lot of them, and some will admit this, some won't, is they go through social media. That's why I tell college students, clean it up, right? Get rid of some things. They're going to see the type of person you are, how much you party. Do you use offensive language? Do you have controversial opinions? Are you unprofessional? They're going to social media. Is that fair? We're not going to go into fair. It's just reality. They have to quickly judge people, and that's one of the things they do. Some will give you this personality test just to see if you're probably going to do it. Does it work? Some swear by it. Some just say they just do it as a weeder. For some, it's good to know your personality. For some, it's just another hurdle to see if you really want the job. Many people in HR, anything with grammar or spell checks, that's one that I work on. Then there were communications. For some, you're out, you're done. Typos, awkward phrasing, or you spell their name wrong, you're out. You could have been the most qualified, but you're out. I've got to get rid of 90 out of 100 because I'm only interviewing 10. Some will go into background checks, interest, hobbies, political leanings. Those could be perceived as incompatible with the company's values, their image. Could get you off the list. They all have their thing, and that's the hard thing. You don't know. You just have to prepare for anything. In fact, here's a geeky, scarly article that we've gone over before. There's this boss that uses the coffee cup test. Now, this was in Business Insider. This is his thing. He walks the candidates to the kitchen, offers them a drink. Could be water, coffee, cup of tea, soft drink. They both take their drinks back to the interview. Hey, that's nice, right? The one thing he's looking for at the end of the interview is that person doing the interview going to take that empty cup back to the kitchen. That's his thing. And he says, you can develop skills, knowledge, and experience, but it really comes down to attitude. And that's what Southwest Airlines did for a long time. I think they still do it. We just hire nice people. We can train them. It's easier to train someone to point to the exits than to teach people to be nice. And he did say most candidates did offer to take the cup back, but there was a few that didn't. And some were saying, well, it's a red flag. Those are mind games. Okay, but it's just reality. Everyone has their thing. What was Henry Ford's? He took 2 potential execs to lunch. He ate with them, talked with them, and at the end of the meal, he hired one and passed on the other. So the second man was like, whoa, how come I didn't make the cut? So Ford told him the make or break decision was based on the fact that he salted his food before tasting it. And the other person tasted it, then salted it. So they both salted their food, but they salted at different times. And Ford said, I need people that will test and assess the situation, not people that would simply make a prejudgment, salt the food ahead of time, and move on. Silly? Maybe. Some look at shoes, your watch, some the handshake, for some the amount of eye contact. For others, how do you treat the receptionist? That was a big one for me. Now, receptionists usually have good EQ, good people skills. I'll ask them, what'd you think? How'd they treat you? That tells you a lot about the person. Treat the receptionist with great respect. Another one that's a big trend is the crazy question, just to see how you think on your feet. When I was graduating from college, I was interviewing with Pizza Hut Corporate in their marketing department, and their question was, hey, if USA Today went out of business and all these newspapers were just laying around, how would you market these to the people of Alaska, right? Is there a right answer? I don't know, maybe. One I've used before, hey, if you were shrunk down to the size of a pencil and stuck in a blender, how would you get out? Big one for me is tell me about your personal development program. What were you listening to on the way in? What's the last book that you read? That tells me everything I need to know in my world. So people come up with these crazy off-the-wall questions that there's not necessarily an answer to, but they want you to think on your feet. I mean, you'll get the same questions over and over again, but you're going to get some new ones. Another big one for me, so I'll find out their thing, right? Tell me about yourself. They'll say, well, I love golf. I'm like, all right. So later in the interview, I'll say something like, all right, what golf club best describes your personality and why? I don't care if it's the driver, the putter, the sand wedge, don't care, but I want to see their answer, see them thinking on their feet. And another trend for both sales and appointments and job interviews is Zoom. I'd go back to the archives at maximizeyourinfluence.com, and I did a whole podcast on how to do a perfect Zoom job interview. Make sure you're on time. The big one for a lot of people is eye contact. They're looking down at you, they're looking up at you. That could be a bad subconscious thing. And of course, your background. Put a plant, you'll look smarter. That's actually true. Don't blur it. That bothers some people. I use my library so I look smart. What is your background? Stand out, get noticed, get the appointment, and get the job. And Griffin, to follow up on your question, the laws of persuasion, I would focus on the law of involvement, getting them engaged, having their riz, not getting ignored. Make sure you're using stories, lots of questions. That gets them engaged, makes you more memorable. And I also take a look at, in Maximum Influence, law of scarcity, to where in job interviews, you don't want to look desperate. They're one of the options. Not like, I have to have this job. When you're looking desperate, then it's very hard to do it. So you have options. You do. You have options. You're looking around. Because and this has always fascinated me, it's easier to find a job when you have a job. You're less desperate. You don't have to have it. You have different demeanor, different confidence, just something to think about. So no matter what you do, stand out, get noticed, be memorable, have the riz. And that's going to get you the appointment. That's going to get you the business. That's going to get you the job interview. That is the key. So we'll go with the special of the week to go along with what we talked about today. Take your presentation IQ. It's free. 10 questions. Get the link at maximizeyourinfluence.com under podcast 517 or go to presentationiq.com. So this helps you, it helps me with my research. You take your IQ, and for doing that, you get the 90-minute training. The hands-on, the PDFs, the formulas on how to create that perfect persuasive presentation. So how to create it and how to deliver it. Get more riz, be more persuasive, because anybody can inform, but are you influential? Are you memorable? Check it out, do it. It'll make a huge difference in your career and your ability to persuade. So take something you learned today, get noticed, stand out. Whether you're doing it in negotiation, whether you're getting more charisma, do it, become more influential, and go out and persuade with power.